see yours.
Okay, I don't know.
That doesn't look like it's.
Are you ready, Jackie? Okay.
Is that one mine? That'll work.
At this time, I'm going to call the meeting of the Oroville City Planning Commission to order. Please call the roll.
Commissioner Flicker,
Here.
Commissioner Britton,
Here.
Commissioner Chapman,
Here.
Commissioner Jenkins,
Here.
Commissioner Sears, Vice Chairperson Durling, and Chairperson Robison.
Here. At this time, if everyone will please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Salute, pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
May be seated. At this time, I'll just let everyone know, I've got a lot of them, so probably everyone's already done it, but if you wish to speak on an item that's on the agenda, please fill out a blue card and hand it in to the clerk. It would be much appreciated. Okay, moving on to public comments. This is an opportunity, if anyone is here who wishes to speak to the Planning Commission about something that pertains to the Planning Commission but is not on the agenda, they can do so now. Is there anyone who wishes to do so? Seeing none, we'll move on to correspondence. There's none. Approval of minutes. Has everyone had time to review the minutes from March 28th, 2019?
Yes.
Are there any changes, additions, corrections? If not, I'll open for a motion.
I move to approve the minutes.
Okay, there's a motion and a second. Any question? Please open the voting. Does anyone wish to change their vote? Seeing none, voting is closed.
Motion carries.
Okay, moving on to public hearings. Before we get into the public hearings, I believe most of the slips I have are for item number 4. We had discussed possibly moving that to the front of the items. Is there a motion to move that to number 1 on the public hearings?
Yes, I'd like to move motion 4 to the front of the pack here.
To item 1.
Huh?
To move item 4 to item 1.
Yeah, move item 4 to item 1.
Okay, there's a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Motion and second. Any questions to the motion? Please open the voting. Does anyone wish to change their vote?
Didn't grab on, sorry.
Seeing no one else, voting is closed.
Motion carries.
Okay, so we will be moving item number 4, the conditional use permit for emergency shelter, to number 1 on the agenda. Just to give everyone a heads up as we move into that, I'll ask the staff to introduce the item. After they have done so, I will open the public hearing because we have so many people here who wish to speak on this item. I have the slips. I'll go through the names. But we have been requested to continue this item. So we will not be making a decision unless the commission decides that they don't want to continue it. But we probably will not be making a decision on that tonight. But because it was a notice public hearing, we will still take comments.
Okay, thank you. Good evening, Chairperson Robinson and Commissioners. Gary Lehman, Chief Building Official, Fire Marshal. This is for the conditional use on an emergency shelter at 3010 Myers Street. Due to the lack of staffing and time and ability to go and review this project and meet with all the applicants and come with understanding and putting together some conditions to the use permit, the staff recommends to move this on to the next meeting.
At this time, I'll open the public hearing. First card I have here is, and I apologize if I get people's names wrong, Carnella Marks. And we will have there it is, timer for 3 minutes limitation.
In support of the emergency shelter, New Haven of Hope.
the emergency shelter would benefit those homeless and homeless with animals. There is a homeless crisis here. I want to say that it is very much needed because homeless individuals are having to go into public entities and use the facilities to take a bath. They're using the facilities for their animals as well. So having this establishment, allowing this to come forward would prevent some of this. I have witnessed it myself. I work with homeless as well as Haven of Hope. I also work with Haven of Hope. And I have pictures. I have pictures of families with kids who are homeless, pushing strollers in the rain. I mean, so this is a time for the people in this city to come together and do something about homeless. Instead of sitting there saying, okay, I want to help. Okay, this is your opportunity to help. I mean, Haven of Hope is providing a place for them. So why not we all come together and agree to help? Because they're not gonna go away at all. I mean, some homeless people just want a second chance. Everybody who's homeless isn't homeless because they're an addict. They just want, some of them just want a second chance, and some really do want to work. They want jobs. I mean, my question to the Planning Commission today is why not give somebody a hand up? We're not giving them a handout, we're giving them a hand up. Because Haven of Hope is also going to do job, employment and job fairs to help them to become productive citizens here in Oroville. It's not just to give them a place to lay their heads or a place to put their dog. It's to help them to become productive, paying citizens of Oroville again. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to ask everyone to hold your applause, and please don't do that so we can, and no negative comments either, so we can just continue to move through the public hearing. Thank you. Next person is Tom Oxford.
Good evening, council members. I'm Tom Oxford. I live at 1965 Pearl Street, and I'd like to express my concern for the proposed emergency homeless shelter at 310 Meyer Street. So I've owned my property, which is right behind where the shelter will be built for for 30 years this year. For 5 of it, I was in the service, and when I got out of the service, I went to work at the jail, where I entailed on how to deal with emotionally distraught individuals. I now deliver the mail in Paradise, or at least I did, until the fire, and I'm about to be displaced within the post office. The reason I tell you this is that you might understand the connection I have with the people I think the shelter might be trying to help. While working at the jail, I often talked with many of the individuals who lived on the streets and frequented the jail. I would also see these same people before and after their stays in the jail as they would walk down the streets near my home. I would ask these people why they don't go to the shelters and try to better their lives. Most of them had various excuses, but the main reason they seemed is that they did not want to live under the rules and conditions of the shelters. The shelters require them to maintain a level of hygiene for their bodies and their living quarters. It also required participation in the maintenance of the facility by assisting with landscaping, picking up litter, washing dishes. The residents of the shelters were also expected to abstain from drugs, alcohol, observe curfew, attend counseling, possibly attend church. They're also not allowed to keep pets. This might seem like a lot, but it was necessary. Unfortunately, people that are homeless prefer this to living under the rules of the shelter. Prefer homelessness to living under the rules of the shelter. I'm not an expert, and to me, it seems like mental health issues might be part of the problem. While I was working as a corrections officer, I saw many people's attitude towards themselves and society improve with the right combination of medication and therapy. Which brings me to question the reason for the shelter. What is the main reason for the shelter? And the notice for this hearing calls it an emergency shelter. What do they consider an emergency, and who is also in need of this shelter and why? I hear many people refer to the individuals living on the street as homeless. The people I have spoken to in the jail and the people who currently walk near my home behind 310 Myers have told me they do not want to live at the shelters because of the reasons listed earlier. So who's going to be staying at the shelters and when? I have delivered mail in Paradise, spoke to many people who have lost their homes. Most people who have insurance were compensated quite well. There were people who did not have insurance who lost everything. They were truly homeless, okay? But they seem to be able to get accommodations, healthy accommodations quite quickly. And I don't think any of the people that lost their homes in Paradise would consider living in a shelter in Southside Oroville because it does have a reputation. if I'm not mistaken, Southside Oroville is one of the biggest sources of methamphetamine in the state not too long ago. And it brings me to the building has the type of business, things that are, in front of the building, there's a lot of drug sales, okay, a lot of bad stuff go on. There's just not safe there. I suggest the shelter, the building across the street here where everybody could see what's going on with the homeless people. I'm not against the shelter.
That's your time, Mr. Oxford. Thank you. Next slip I have is, I think that's Brad Jackson. I can't really read the first name.
Hello, Planning Commission. I'm Brad Jackson. We have a business at 2900 Meyer Street, and I'm here to ask the Planning Commission, to ask the staff of Oroville to establish a municipal code and a city ordinance to not allow a homeless shelter be within 1,000 feet of a place that sells alcohol, a school district, a place that sells marijuana, or a family residence. I feel that the traffic from this type of establishment causes harm to the residents, the kids that are in the backyard. They're within actually 200 feet on Pearl Street. I also feel that we should have a condition that the homeless shelters should provide security force on site, and security cameras. That's a condition I would like to be put into the, if they would like to have this permit. A condition where they have a security guard on duty all time, so they don't have to call OPD every time somebody has a fit, which happens. I'm on Meyer Street, it happens every day, and I'm not exaggerating. And also for medical, because some of these guys just pass out on the side of the street and medical has to come. But anyway, I would just like a security guard to be on site. And I would also like a condition of security cameras on all sides of the business, out the front, out the back, so that if something happens, it would be available to the OPD at no problem. Like, just give it to them, like if we have a problem. I mean, we had one person killed about a year ago, right on the corner of Courts and Cordo? Cordo, yeah. Stomped on by a kid right in the middle of the street. Yeah, so, and that was, thankful we had a security camera out there. I think we should make sure there are security cameras on all sides of this new building if it happens. But my main problem is, where are the people gonna go after 8 o'clock a.m. when Mr. Thomas Thompson lets them go at 8 o'clock in the morning? Because his story to me was they come in at 5.
Time.
Thank you, Mr. Jackson. Okay. The next slip I have is Elias Dorgali.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Elias Dorgali. I'm the owner of Biggs Liquor on Meyer Street. I agree on what Mr. Jackson's decision, and I just want to know why it's going to be there. And you guys you wouldn't see. I've been there 30 years, and you guys didn't see what's going on behind the store and in the front of the store. I've been there 30 years, and if that would happen, I might lose all my female customers. They will be afraid to go there because you guys don't see. I've been there 30 years. I work 7 days a week. And if you wouldn't mind, I have a picture 3 days ago. A guy was sleeping in the front of the door. I tried to wake him up. He said, just go back to your damn country. I'm just trying to sleep. And he gave me a finger. And this is probably, it happened every single day. And the city of Oroville ordered me to have a license on the front of the building, say no loitering and no open alcohol. And this is what happened. If we call the police don't show up. Even if they show up, they call them to go nicely. After the police go, they came back. We've been having problem with those homeless people. I can't afford to lose business. I have 2 children in college. And if I lose some business, I can't afford to live. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
The next, Gary?
Chair, this is staff, Gary Lehman. One thing I want everybody here to acknowledge is it's allowed by right with conditions. So it would help staff and it would help the planning commission if we were able to indicate, as Mr. Jackson did, some things that would help us out in putting together conditions that would help staff out in writing up the conditions to allow the approval of it or whatever, because it's allowed in the zoning code, but under conditions. And this would be much more beneficial than some of the take that we've been hearing.
Thank you. Next slip I have is Warren Windland.
Good evening. I just want to say I own a bar on Meyer Street, and I'm tired of finding crap on my doorstep in the mornings. And I know if we even open this, it's going to eliminate some, but it's going to draw in more that want to come into the area because now they're getting free housing. And it's just not going to work. I'm tired of picking up their trash every day because when they go buy something, they start walking my way, drop it in front of my place. If you want to see a picture, I took a picture of a milk, or not a milk jug, a water jug, 1.5 gallons sitting at my doorstep. This is what my customers see. And I don't think it's fair to them. They panhandle, they're always looking for money. Louis can attest to that. We got people that walk up and down the street every day. It's getting old. Now, either I close my business, move it, or what do? I put people out of work. And my rent pays for a guy that's disabled. He can't work. And that's how he lives. So if I pull out, he's out of luck. And so is his caretaker. So please reconsider all this. Thank you.
Thank you. Next slip I have is Fred Spanger.
Thank you. Okay. I'm a little emotional right now, a little upset because I would like to hear more solutions rather than complaints. The complaining, everybody complains about homeless. Everybody, even the people that are for shelters. I walked the area on Monday and talked to a lot of people that lived in the area. I talked to a store owner in that little strip mall where these gentlemen have their businesses, and she's all for it, but like you said, there's got to be details and stuff like that. Okay, my main point is this is just a step, a small step at that. It's actually a big project to try to undertake, of course, but for the problem, if we want a solution, it's a small step, and it needs to be done. And I know there's details that need to be taken into consideration to do that, but honestly, you're not going to really find out what you need to do until it gets started, and then you start tweaking whatever needs to do. If problems come up, then you deal with them. But I really urge the commission to please go forward on this because it's, like I said, it's just a small step. Thank you.
Next slip is Casey Boone.
Hi. I agree that there definitely should be some conditions made. I'm new to the area. My husband and I purchased the building or the business at 1930 Pearl Street. I'm actually probably one of the only people in the room that's happy that it will be continued, because then I can help come up with some conditions of what we're looking for the business owners, the homeowners, the people that are in that area. What I prepared to bring today is just some of the issues that I have experienced in the 4.5 months that I have owned my business on Pearl Street. And what I would like is for those of you who are wanting to bring the shelter in, is to hear all of us and hear our concerns and what's happening on a daily basis for us. I have trash littering the area around my store. Twice a week at least, myself and my employees, I pay them to clean up trash. There has been a mattress in a box spring from Big Lots. There has been pallets that were not my pallets. Our recyclable can was stolen in the first month that we owned our business, never recovered. My husband arrived at our business at 7 o'clock in the morning, and there was a disheveled man trying to steal a generator. Don't know for a certain that he was homeless, but he appeared to be. He appeared to be a transient. He threatened my husband and then turned and ran. My husband was not going to go after him, knowing that the man was running away from him. I arrived on April 2nd to my store, found drug paraphernalia directly in front of my store, the remnants of a small fire, and I would like to let you guys know that I own a feed store. It is a barn full of hay. And they were trying to build a fire. There was a metal energy drink can that had obviously been used with the crack pipe that I found. The empty field across from my street always has people sitting in it, drinking, laughing, talking, yelling, fighting. They often cut through that field right there. I probably have 10 random transients walk past my store on a daily basis, and on average at least 2 of those people yell at me, as I'm almost always outside, yell at my employees, yell at my customers. My children are there at my store on a regular basis after school. They are 6 and 8 years old. The last thing I want someone to do is to come to my business and feel unsafe at my business. Again, I would love to come up with some conditions for what we feel is acceptable, but right now it seems to rely fully on OPD, because I'm within the city limits. They're the people that I call. 6 times in the last 4 months I have had to call OPD, and I feel that I've never had to call that many times in the 13 years that I've lived here. So obviously there's an issue. I would love to see if we could help fix it. Thank you.
Thank you. Next slip is for Kevin Thompson.
Council, we're so thankful when we do honor and we covered this opportunity to give me this forum and space just to come before you. And once again, I listened to everything. I bought feed from the prior owners and so on and so forth. And Mr. Jackson, you know, we have an opportunity to talk. He's one of my vendors as well. We hired him at one of our facilities to work. So I believe that we can coagulate our efforts together, and certainly we would be open to reasonable conditions. The city of Oroville was the first city to declare a shelter crisis in our entire county. That's saying something. We're a part of the city. This is not a business. I don't make a dime, you know, contrary to what some might think. When I purchased the building, I purchased it to do the best we can, let it be a service to our community. And I found this to be the best way, is to help the largest growing, fastest growing demographic that we have, and that is the homeless epidemic that we have. The point in time census count is showing us that it's just continued to grow. So we just want to help. With that, I'd like to submit this. This is just some well-wishers and community members and people that live around that area. We have a total in the 308 signatures, and we've got these signatures in under 2 hours, one day under 2 hours. So, you know, I'm not unreasonable. You know, we'll do whatever we can to make sure that we do all that we can. We don't want anyone impeding upon anyone's business and an opportunity to earn a living, and certainly in their private spaces at home. We're not going to be able to solve everything. We're just offering a helping hand to those that really want it. There's going to be some knuckleheads that we hear about. They're not going to want help no matter what. But those that truly want help, we just want to be that conduit to step up and just to show our love and our compassion, because if we, we miss a few paychecks, we could be in that same condition. So nothing more, nothing less. We don't want to see this thing go in ways and people that have known each other for many years to be angry at one another. I've lived in this community for well over 60 years, and we've seen the conditions, and we just want to leave this community better than what we found it. So thank you for your time and your service. Good day.
Thank you, Mr. Thompson. Irma Jordan.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Irma Jordan. I'm here to speak in support of the Low Barrier Emergency Shelter. I see it as a win-win for everybody. All of the problems that are being brought up would possibly get some solving, This could be an end to a lot of the problems. For the police department, it would be good for the general community, but most of all, it would benefit the homeless people. And we will always have the poor among us, so why not address this issue now? As global warming continues and our winter and our summer weather is very extreme for anyone or anything to exist outside. Can you even imagine that a homeless person gets very little rest, even when we think they're laying around all day and sleeping? That's because they're worried about their safety. They're worried about if somebody's gonna rob them of what few items they do have in a grocery cart that could possibly be in a locker someplace at a low barrier shelter. They worry about their animals, that they have to comfort them when they're going through distress. Those animals could be with them, because there are some that will not leave their animals. My dog is like my baby, and I'm sure many of us have our little doggies. But getting back on this subject here, for them to get a good night's sleep in a shelter, it could do something to change their mindset, just to have a place to call home, even if it's just for one good night's rest. It could be great for their mental health, and getting fully rested, feeling safe, being fed, and sleeping in a comfortable climate would help the mindsets to change into positive mindsets. Please consider this issue. This permit is necessary for the operation of these facilities, and I'd like for you to take every consideration and in considering the fact that this shelter program will be based on the 5 keys to effective emergency shelter. That's housing first, safe and appropriate conversion, and also immediate and low barrier access, housing focused rapid services, and data to measure performances. I thank you all for all of your consideration. Have a good evening.
Janet Goodson.
Good evening, Commissioners. I live in South Oroville. My husband and I, Pastor David, we also not only reside there, but we also have a local church. So we are very much aware of the need for an emergency shelter such as this. We do prior to our church services, and periodically through the week, you will find us cleaning up alleyways as well. But we also interact, and we know many of the homeless, because that's just the service that we provide. I believe that this is a win-win, as Irma Jordan said, for the city of Oroville, and specifically for South Oroville. The challenges are varied, but it is not for us to judge the why and the wherewithal. This shelter will give those in need the opportunity to seek out the help that they want. And for me, that is the key word. The key word is want. Those who want help with medical issues, with mental and addiction problems, jobs, and housing struggles. This is a resource center with an emergency housing component. that will be a support to those who they need help navigating through the social services system. And it will provide first and foremost the right that we all have and not be denied a decent shower, a meal, the capability of washing and putting on a clean set of clothes, a storage locker for their own personal belongings, and where the owner and their pet remain united. Often when my husband and I are out during the evening, because we do have a lot of events and meetings, driving home together, I have to remind David, please turn on the bright lights for fear of hitting someone, a pedestrian in the roadway. And I'm going to conclude by stating this is the right time to do the right thing, and the right thing is right now.
Thank you. Tasha Levinson.
Thank you and good evening, Commissioners. I want to support this, this emergency shelter. All the problems I'm listening to are in fact problems caused by the homeless crisis that we have here and actually throughout Butte County and throughout the United States right now. This is one small step that may alleviate some of those problems. It's not going to be a cure-all. It's not going to solve everything. I do hope that whatever conditions you do, you will keep in mind affordability. Cameras are great because you can do those without a lot of expense. Having full-time manned security guard may make it impossible to offer help. I will keep thinking, and if I come up with other solutions, we'll email and send them in, because I really think that we need to try to solve this problem one step at a time with whatever we can do, because it's not going away otherwise. Thank you.
Thank you. Doreen Kramer.
Hi, I haven't been here before. I saw this emergency shelter thing came up, and I was concerned because I owe the building next to it. This month alone, I've had to go out twice because some alcoholic came by and just crapped all over it, you know. Now I got to repaint that spot. There are people that come down that street at least once a week, at least, that are out there on drugs. And they're not the kind of people that you can say, I'm going to call the police, because they're all the way out of their tree. You know, they're screaming at the top of their lungs. They're just out there on drugs. I believe there's a few houses up the street that are dealing drugs and have been for some time. There's a house up there that the whole neighborhood knows that is the Sidewalk Bar. And if any of you are
Please
there,
address
you
your
know
comments
the
to the
house I'm
commission.
talking about.
Please address your comments to the commission.
Yeah. And kids walk by there every day, and they're all trying to outdo each other, cussing and drinking, and it's disgusting, you know? So, I mean, right now I have a triplex over there, and 3 of the units I put homeless people through the welfare system or whatever in them. Now, 2 of them are good people. They have kids. They're doing the best they can to make a life for themselves and their kids. They're struggling. And then I have one that I'm going to have to spend a lot of money evicting because they're on drugs. And the way that they're handling it, the one lady has got some dementia, and she wants to live with the daughter who's a schizophrenic and on drugs. And the people they have helping them, welfare is paying somebody in their family to be their IHSS worker, and they're constantly taking their money and bringing them drugs. And these 2 ladies, I'm going to have to put back out on the street because I can't take care of them. I've tried, but, you know, what do you do in situations like that? So I'm in favor of a homeless shelter. We definitely need one, but a lot of these people are on drugs, and as far as their pets, I don't care about their pets. I'm sure their pets don't want to be homeless. You know, I didn't ask them to get pets. I have a granddaughter who has been going through different surgeries for 7 years because a pit bull took half her face off. And this has happened multiple times in Oroville. My sister's a nurse, and I'm not just I know for a fact this is happening. And
Time.
everybody over there wants one.
Thank you.
So I say, there needs
That's time, Mrs. Kramer. Thank you. Kenneth Thompson.
Council, everyone in the gallery. You know, I've been sitting here, different meetings on countless occasions. I've never spoke because I've always been under radar and stuff. But this is a no-brainer. How can a few people in a little strip mall oppose something that's 10 times better than what they're offering right now, with the exception of Brad over there? Brad may have a legitimate gripe, but the other two individuals who I know very well, Louis, and my boy Warren over there, I mean, I've seen people stumble out of his bar, not only take a crap, but throwing up in the sidewalk. Who cleans that up? Well, there's an old guy named Thurman who comes by in the morning and picks up cans and paper and stuff. He's I'm serious, about 90 years old. That's who cleans it up. You guys are dealing poison to, I'm address you, I'm looking at you.
No, but I don't go into personal attacks or anything on individuals.
It's beyond that. I mean, I'm just saying, I've been there for 59 years myself. And before Haven of Hope took over that business, it was Robert's Drug Store. And I admire the Harlans. They're really good friends of mine. Coach their kids and all that stuff. And, but no one complained about the individuals that came in there and got their prescription medications. Nobody complained about that. And a lot of those people I witnessed were worse than homeless in some regards. Secondly, and this is the most profound to me, is I lived next door to Jackson's Glass in that red brick house for 8 years. And Brad knows I've seen it all. So, it's kind of hypocritical to come in here and allege these things when your own employees. Who's hypocritical? You are.
I'm not going to tolerate.
Need some more minutes, Brad.
Excuse me. I want to let everyone know right here. I do not want people coming up here and launching personal attacks, and I'm not going to have back and forth between the audience. If people insist on doing that, I will have you removed, and if I have to have the police come do it, I will do it.
Thank you very much. Hopefully that'll quell that. But I lived there for 8 years next to that building. I've frequented that building. I've been inside that building. Brad and me personally have had drinks inside of the building, after hours, of course, and I know all of his employees, and this is not a personal attack because they're no longer his employees, because all of them were just as worse as a homeless, because Brad knows that they were using drugs in his shop. He knows that. That's not a personal attack.
I know, but we're not going to use this forum to put things negative out about individuals.
So it's just kind of hypocritical for him to come in here and he had to purge about 10 or 12 people from his business for the same thing that he's alleging homeless people are doing, And, that's where it is. I mean, I'm from Southside. I live next door to Brad. He knows. Thank you.
William Bynum.
Okay, thank you, commissioners. Appreciate the opportunity to speak with you. To me, this homeless problem is an epidemic. That's just obvious. It's nationwide, statewide, Butte County-wide, and it's increasing. It's a serious problem. There's just a lot of people out there, and for whatever reason, our society needs to do something about it. We can't pretend they're not out there. We can't pretend it's not getting worse. When I heard about the possibility of an emergency shelter, I went out on Monday with a group of other people, went door to door. I went up and down B Street and talked to about 40 or 50 individuals, almost 100% of them want to do something to help the homeless. There was a lot of people who are upset with the trash or upset with all the things you've heard about, but they still want to do something about the problem. And if it means you can get some of them off the street at night, well, as a few people have said, you got to start somewhere. Do something. This is about humanity. This is about doing the right thing for other human beings. I don't care why they're homeless, and I don't care what they're doing while they're homeless, but we can't just turn our backs on them. We can't pretend like they're not there. They are there, and it's just going to continue to get worse. I think there should be at least 4 shelters just in Oroville, and that probably wouldn't address half of the problems, but you have to do something. You know, please, let's don't just pretend like we don't have a serious problem, because it's serious. I live out in Palermo, and as some people have said, when I drive from Palermo to Oroville at night, I turn on my high beams and go slow, because there's people on the streets everywhere. And I'll tell you what, a couple years ago, as a member of Save Oroville Trees, we tried to save those trees down by the cemetery, and we would camp out all night to see that PG&E didn't come and cut our trees down. And there were a lot of homeless people walking those streets. I didn't realize it until I started spending the night out there, and I would drive around to find out where the PG&E trucks were at 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the morning. It's amazing. There are homeless people all over this city, not just in Southside, all over this city. And we've had an office. I'm with also the Oroville Democratic Club. We've had an office on Oro Dam Boulevard the last couple of cycles. They're in almost every bush. I mean, if there's a clump of trees somewhere in this city, there's somebody sleeping in there. I guarantee you. And I mean, we need to open our eyes and do something, because it's a serious problem. So, appreciate any help. Thanks.
Thank you. Okay, we've got a few more people to go through. Before we proceed, I want to apologize for not ending the personal attacks sooner. I thought it went without saying, but perhaps I need to say it. Launching individual attacks on and naming somebody and calling them out on something is not going to be accepted. From this point forward, if anyone does that, your time will be forfeited and will be ended, and you will ask to either sit down or leave. So my apologies for not nipping that sooner. This is not the forum for that. Lisa Torres.
Good evening. My name is Lisa Torres, and I'm also in favor of Haven of Hope. The Haven of Hope, you know, suggestions and other things that can be also, you know, positive input is always welcome, and always, you know, can be looked at, and things, you know, can be, like they said, tweaked here and there. You know, we've heard a lot of discussions of what's been going on over the years, but that's the thing. That's been going on over the years. This is a chance to make a difference, to stop that cycle. This is what we want to do. We want to help. You know, here you have a group of people that want to help. We want to see Oroville better. We want to, if the people are in a place, they're in a shelter, then they're not crapping in front of your business. They're not leaving trash in front of your business. They're not loitering in front of your business. They're in one spot, you know? And then when they, in the morning, when it comes time for that, there is a resource. We just don't let them go with that. Like I said, there's resources. This is not something that was just said, let's just do a homeless shelter and that's it. This is something that's been well thought of. It's a thought out process. Like they said, well, this is baby steps. You know, it's a process, and we have to go along as we go. A lot of these people that are homeless, we've known for years, you know, so yeah, it's kind of like connection that we have towards Oroville, because we want to help them. Like I said, towards years, these people need help. You know, we have shelters, yes, but this is a chance to do something different. Obviously, you know, we've had all these shelters, and we still have the homeless population. So let's see if we can try to do something different. You know, times have changed. We're not back in the, you know, back in the days in the 80s and the 90s. Yes, a lot of people are on drugs, but there's a lot of people that are alcoholics. There's a lot of people that just stumbled on bad times. You know, you can't put them in the same category. You can't stereotype people and say, oh, they're homeless, so let's just leave them alone. You don't know their story. You know, everybody has to walk a path in life, and you don't know what they've been through to get to where they are. You know, we want to help people. We want to sit there and help them live better. Maybe they didn't have that. You know, here's an opportunity for someone to step in and say, hey, there's a way to do something different. Maybe they didn't have that opportunity. Maybe they didn't have that, you know, talk when they were growing up. You know, but as an adult, you know, maybe something will click. But we also have to remember that some of the homeless people have also fought for our country, and they're out there. You know, and I haven't heard anybody say anything about that. You know, we have homeless people that have fought for us. You know, alcoholics. They've lost their wives, they've lost their ways, they just, like they said, they didn't get that paycheck. You know, we want to help them. Let's try to be that change. Let's be a part of that. Let's grow together. Let's make this a thing that where we can grow and keep going and keep helping people. If we help them and get them off the streets, they'll get off your sidewalks. Thank you.
Thank you.
And by the way, the women in Southside are a lot tougher than the guys, so they're not going to lose business.
Carol Anderson.
Thank you. I don't know that I have a lot to contribute, except I thought I would share. I clean Centennial Park, Diane, and I do that frequently. And we were there today, and I took a picture of somebody had set up a homeless camp in Centennial Park and sent it to code enforcement. And before we finished cleaning, they were out moving them along. But I felt really bad because they're getting moved along again, and that's all we ever seem to do is move them along. So I stopped and went to talk to them. They'd only been homeless for 5 days. This was a very new experience. The woman broke down in tears immediately. She says, I don't know how to be homeless yet. I haven't learned where can I go. We're willing to camp out. Where can we camp legally? Somebody told me we can camp by Walmart legally. Can we? I don't know. I don't think so. I wanted somehow to be able to tell her what they could do, where they could go, and the shelters separate men and women, so they can't go as a couple. What do we do for them? I mean, I see the crap that we clean up. I clean up human feces in Centennial Park. And I think having some place to go for the evening would cut down on that. I see people who sleep up there in the daytime because they're afraid to fall asleep at night, because they get, one fellow that told me he'd been beat over the head with a shopping cart at night. And they're afraid to fall asleep at night. She's afraid to be away from her husband out there. So they've got a ton of stuff that they took out of the house when they were evicted and don't have anywhere to put. I went and looked, tried to find a locker. If you could set up lockers, even if you don't take the people, if you could set up a locker where they could leave their stuff safely so they don't get robbed. I tried calling some storage shelters, and they said, we don't have any openings since the campfire. There's no units available. So, because I thought, well, I'll buy them a locker where they could put their stuff. And I don't know what we're going to do, and I know that it's a problem. Try something. Anyway, thank you.
Thank you. Carol Zanin.
Hello, thank you for this opportunity. I am a retired CPS social worker and a mental health clinician of 28 years with the county. I wasn't planning to speak tonight because I had so many other activities before coming here. But it's important that you know that I've been the chair or the executive director of the Greater Oroville Homeless Coalition since 2004. Living in Oroville since 1979, I have seen the population grow, the homeless population grow. And it saddens me greatly that the richest country in the world, the United States, cannot figure out a plan to get housing for these people that need housing. Because it's true and it's been proven time and again in many states that housing first is the key. If you want to stop the homeless population, housing first, because then all the mental health problems will be less. All the there's a Utah program. They have tested this over 10 years, I believe, and not hardly anybody ever leaves the program. They get stable, they get on meds, deal with their mental health, they stop their drugs, they get into drug rehab programs. The only people that leave are the ones that pass away. So we need to have housing first, whatever that takes. And if it means to start like this, then by God, we need to start with something. And I'm just tired of seeing, and I'm very sad to see so many homeless people all over the place. Every time I drive, I'm tired of seeing it. This should not be. And, you know, you have your businesses, that's important, but there's something more important. Your humanity, that you care about the other person, that you do not put yourself first. You have to help others. If we're going to make a difference, your life will be better if you give and you help with this problem. I have done it. I have seen the Homeless Coalition stop evictions. We prevent shutoffs, utility shutoffs every single week. Just yesterday, we stopped an eviction that prevented a family of being homeless. We stopped so many water shutoffs, PG&E shutoffs. They refer people to us now. PG&E tells people to call us, and the water companies tell us to call the Homeless Coalition. We have to stop those because the next step is homelessness. Because a lot of landlords won't let you live in a place without water and electricity. So the next step is homelessness. And the majority of people that are becoming homeless now, it's families. It's a mom with a kid, a dad with a son. I don't know what to do with this father that called us today with 4 kids. And he's going to be homeless pretty soon. So I'm running out of ideas. We need this help. I got 16 seconds left. But I want to just urge you to do the right thing and make a difference. Do something. We need more than 1 shelter. We need 10. So help us, please. Thank you.
Lydia Karun? Thank you.
Hello. My name's Lydia, and I live in Oroville. I have a 13-year-old daughter, and I've been actually working alongside Carol Zanin with the Homeless Coalition. I am actually homeless, and I do have a mental illness, but I don't use drugs. I take care of my kid. My kid has over a 4.0 grade point average. She's wanting to become an engineer, you know, but because I just recently got blind, and I'm learning how to navigate. My other half got addicted, and because there is a really bad drug epidemic here in Oroville, and so we lost our home, and I have to be with my daughter at night. You know, there's nowhere safe to go unless you're an addict. I tried to go into a place called Jordan Crossing that is actually that helps people, but you have to be an addict, and I'm not an addict. I became schizophrenic at 22, and I've been well maintained on medication, and this is very overwhelming. Besides, you know, dealing with mental illness, I have a child I have to look after, and I got to be aware of my surroundings, and it's not always safe. And I do apologize for those people that, you know, their businesses get vandalized or whatever, and it is because of the drugs. But if there was shelters like this to help, me and my daughter wouldn't be on the street. And there's people that pass by that know who we are, and they don't stop, they don't help. And Carol, the Homeless Coalition, does a lot, but they can only do so much. They can only pay bills and stuff like that. And through this other program, from what I've heard, they also help you work and gain skills. And if there's more programs like this, it would prevent. Not everybody has huge issues and that are homeless. You know, it just stuff that happens in life. And so I just wanted to share my story, and I hope you guys can come to an agreement in some way to make this happen, because it is so needed. And people like me and my daughter are on the street, and we need help. And I'm not really sure how to do it, being blind. I just recently got blind, so
Time.
through this type of place, I would be able to go and do treatments and whatever I need to do. Learn how to use a cane. I barely know how to do. I just got one class, so I'm just saying this kind of stuff
Thank you,
would
Ms.
help
Friend.
many people. And,
Thank you.
And thank you for listening.
Linda Draper?
I really appreciate all the stories that have been shared here this evening. And I would just like to add, it doesn't take much to end up on the streets, okay? I don't think most of you probably have 9 months worth of savings in the bank, which is what is recommended. Most people, if they lose a paycheck or two, they won't be able to pay their house payment or their rent. And it doesn't take a lot. Last summer, my husband and I were having dinner at a restaurant here in Oroville, a little Mexican place, and we happened to meet this man who was in his early 40s, and he was quite distraught, and we could tell. My son Aaron was with me, and we went over and asked him what was wrong, and he said he was staying in a motel nearby. He was driving truck, working up at the dam. He had moved out here just for the summer to work, and he was from North Dakota. And his room had been robbed that night while he was sleeping, and he hadn't quite shut the door. Anyway, make a long story short, they stole his wallet, his iPad, his phone. Basically, then he was stranded. He had no money, had no ID, and he couldn't work then because he had no driver's license, his trucking driver's license. So we did what we could. We talked to him. We tried to come up with solutions. And the upshot of it was we ended up putting him up in a hotel for 3 nights and getting him an airline ticket to fly home. And that took some doing because they won't let you board the plane without an ID. I had to take him to the police station to get a statement that he had filed a report that his wallet and everything had been stolen. And so the airline, I called them and they said, okay, we will accept him. Okay, just with that. And so Kirk left at 4 in the morning to drive him to Sacramento. Why did we do that? We're not crazy, you know. I, like Carol, I am distraught. I am sick. I am so tired of the increasing numbers of homeless individuals in this community. We have got to start doing something, anything. This is a 25-bed facility, and so it's not huge. This is a minor baby step, but at least it would help 25 individuals have a place to sleep where they could go in and be out of the rain and the hail or whatever, the 110-degree heat, and only during the nighttime. And I think it would be a good beginning. It's not going to solve our problem here in Oroville. We're all well aware of that. We have so many homeless people, but it would be a good start, and I would encourage you to consider that. Thank you.
Did we have any other slips?
That was the last speaker that I have over here.
That was all the slips I had. Was there anyone who did not have a chance to turn in a slip? Seeing none, we will close the public hearing, limit discussion between commissioners and staff. Staff had requested that we continue this item. How does the commission feel? If you wish to, yeah. Absolutely.
They're not on.
Can you hear me now? If people are going to be gone from 8 to 4:30, I can understand the concern on the part of merchants and neighbors. Is it possible to come up with some kind of programs or work projects or activities that people could go to if they're not allowed to be in the shelter? Is there like a coordination with other, linkages with other activities? Just a thought. Will there be laundry facilities? Yes? And
If you'd like to come up to the podium so you can verbally respond and get it on the record.
if people show up with a shopping cart full of dirty clothes, will they be able to get them washed and folded and clean and ready to wear again at that facility?
Yes, ma'am, Ms. Sears, and that's one of the problems we notice on our river banks and so on and so forth. The reason we see so many clothes is because they don't have an opportunity to wash them, so they go to the Hope Center, get some fresh clothes, and they leave those on the banks. Those that might know, you might not know, but the city of Oroville, they were so gracious, and they awarded us $175,000 for the Haven of Hope on Wheels project.
You just answered my third question, which was, what's your funding?
Yeah. So the city of Oroville did award us that funding, that trailer. It's outfitted with 4 toilets, 4 showers, 4 stackable washers and dryers, and it's mobile. And that's the key, is that we'll be going to certain areas in our city. It won't become a magnet because we're mobile. We're only going to be there in 2 4-hour sessions a day. We'll be here for 4 hours.
Oh, so that's something that'll go around the community?
That's
and
correct.
then be parked at the facility at night
We'll
for the
park
use of the people that are living there?
Exactly. At night, they would have access to that. But also, we're not going to start, that's going to be temporary. I did submit floor plans to Mr. Lehman. And if you look at those floor plans, you'll see that we're going to add 4 in-house showers. Yes. 1 ADA accessible. We'll have the washrooms on site as well. If I may jump back to your first observation, your question is that at 9 a.m., once the people have given, well, let me just back up. That night at 4:30 p.m., when they come in, we'll give them a homemade, a good hot meal. They have an opportunity to use the computer lab. The library is there. They have an opportunity to watch TV. There'll be an intake specialist there as well, offering services that, not only they need, but they have a right to. Some of them don't even know they have certain rights to certain services, so we'll be offering that as well. Our main concern is just getting these people off the streets at night. It seems like when the sun sets, it gets dark. They get their head smashed in, and also they're not to be held harmless. They get out there and they mess with people's businesses. So I'm thinking, if I got a business in the area and I know that I'm at that business from 8 a.m. to 5, so I'm going to be that security during that time. But here it is, we have a service that's going to come in and pick up and take those people away from your business from 4:30 till 8:30 in the morning. I think that's a win-win. So that's the way we're looking at it. And I might back up as well and say that there's going to be some knuckleheads that don't want to help. We don't have time for them. We're not going to deal with those people. But those people that really want to help, we're going to be there to help them. As I was doing my rounds and I was locking up Riverbend Park just down the street, I'm contracted through the park as well. And I was at the dog park, and I seen this lady climbing up the 162 overpass, the rocks, going up to the 162. This was when the old Walmart was there. And my wife told me to stop at Walmart and get something, whatever it was. I went, I done my shopping, and I got to the checkout counter, and who was it? It was this lady that was living in the bush, but she was going to work every day. She wasn't high, she wasn't drinking, she was not on drugs. She was just trying to survive. So, it's heartbreaking, but we just want to do the best we can for these people. Yes, ma'am.
I'd just like to point something out. I'm old enough to remember when there used to be, and because I lived in one when I was 19, a YMCA hotel. I paid $1 a night. I got a bed and a window. No bathroom. It was down the hall, but I could lock my door. I could get breakfast for 50 cents. I could get dinner for $1, but I had to be out of there all day. Well, I worked. I had a job. I just didn't have a home. And then for a couple of years before that, I lived in a boarding house. There isn't such a thing as a boarding house anymore. We've somehow gotten away from providing fairly high-density, low-cost housing for people. And unfortunately, we seem to have done it at a time when we're living in a state that has a shortage of 2 million housing units overall. So people in all economic strata are finding a hard time acquiring a home if they don't already have one. So food for thought. I just thought I'd mention that, though, that how much our culture has changed in the last, sorry to bring this up, but 50 years.
Any other questions or comments?
I do.
I have one. Mr.
I'm not-
Thompson?
Just, Commissioner Flicker got my attention first, so it'll be her and then you.
Oh, mine's on. Okay. You mentioned men and women. Are they going to be separated or not separated? I mean, how do you? I saw the floor plans, but I apologize. I can't read it because it's too tiny in my eyes. I can't see it.
Magnifying glass, yeah. Yeah, it will be a separation. Mind you, the building is a 4,000 square foot building. As it stands now, 2,000, roughly 2,000 square foot is kind of admin, storage area, refrigeration, and so on and so forth that we're going to convert to refrigeration. The other half is 2,000 square foot of open space that we built 2 office space inside. You know, if someone want to come out and do the intake portion, we do that. They will be separated, you know, for those sleeping hours. You know, there'll be women on one side. And men on,
Dormitories,
yes,
kind of.
it'll be a separation. Yes, ma'am.
What about their animals when you come in? Or say you got 20 animals for the night.
Well,
do they go potty somewhere? I mean, do they go outside?
Yeah, outside. We're in the back. We're in the process of putting up a gate in the back, and then a portion of that backyard space would be converted into a kennel.
A barking lot.
Yes, yeah, barking lot. And this is Keisha, my administrative assistant. You know, she's been with me for a while, and she's a whole lot smarter than I am. So she.
Okay, that was just my two. Thank
Commissioner
you.
Britton?
Yeah, hey, Kevin. When they come in to stay for the night, I understand that you're gonna have facilities to point them into, like, where to apply for a job and where to go and everything like that. How much time do they have in your facility? I mean, is it dedicated for a week, a month, a year, or is there no standard on that?
I'm going to turn it over to her, but initially it's going to be first come, first serve. When we reach that 25 person for that night, you know, that's where we're cut off at. But getting to the job preparedness and readiness classes that we're going to have on site, as soon as we let them out at 8:30, at 9 a.m. we'll be open up our doors for our regular services that we'll be providing. And that's going to be job preparedness. We already have one of the well-known construction companies, owners in this area that have signed on with us to do that training. And he's going to come. Well, his story is that he said, Kevin, we get guys that come and they work for a day or two. I start them off at $17 an hour. They can go all the way up to $75 an hour. And that's what we're looking for, sustainable income for these individuals to make that mortgage payment, to pay that car note. But we just need to encourage them to come back the second and third and fourth day, you know, and we'll be on top of them. We're going to have our HMIS and our Salesforce intake information. We'll be downloading this information, and we'll have everything that they need as far as information go. Did you make your last doctor's appointment? When was the last opportunity you had to see your specialist? Did you get to the VA? You know, these are the things that we'll be offering during our daytime services. So,
just to add on to that, one of the requirements in order for us to offer the HMIS program is to
be connected with the Butte County Continuum of Care. And so they are the entity as well as Community Action Agency. They actually offer the training. So we are in the process of getting our certification for HMIS in order to offer that intake portion of what we're doing. And as Kevin mentioned, we will have that program. We will also teach life skills, so how to not only get a job, but how to also maintain a job, and then just basic life skills as well. So that'll be offered again during the daytime. If you drive by our building, you'll see Haven of Hope Resource Center. So that is the main program that will be happening during the daytime hours. And then, of course, with the focus here tonight is the emergency shelter at night.
Right. No, I agree with, I mean, you can't deal with knuckleheads. You just can't do it, right? But I think that the follow-through on trying to help them out during the day to try to get a job, try to get them to their appointments, I mean, that's what's very important, right? Sleep is sleep, but what you're doing when you're not sleeping is very important. So, yeah.
That one
And
word,
that will be-
sustainability, I mean, this is where we gotta get people, get the mindset that, you know what, you can, come on, let's shake it off. You know, we all been certain places in our lives, but, you know, we can.
One other question, are drug use, I know you won't allow it, how do you deal with that? Drug or alcohol use in the building?
We won't turn anyone down because they're high, but once they step foot over the threshold into that building, there'll be zero tolerance for drug or alcohol or weapons. None of that. If anybody violate those conditions, and those are conditions that we're putting forward in our application, then they won't be welcome back to the
Okay.
facility.
Okay. I'm good.
Thank you. Commissioner Jenkins? Commissioner Chapman?
So, like in the next meeting, there's some, like, I'd like to see some conditions to help mitigate some of the concerns. You said something about, 25, first come, first serve. Is that daily? So let's say you have a line of 50 people. Is there a designated area for them to line up at 4:30? Is that going to impact other businesses?
No, I don't think so. They're gonna come through and we'll bring them inside. In other words, there won't be any we'll count 25 and then we'll, bring them inside. The door will be locked. And the others, if they want to come back and try to be first or second or 20th in line, then they can't be loitering around our facility, any of the neighbors' businesses or homes. If we get reports that people are loitering or trash in the place, then they won't be welcome, back to the facility. So there's gonna be some strict conditions because it's gonna be a lot of people that's gonna desire an opportunity to help. And so we don't have a lot of time to mess around with those that's gonna be impeding upon the
And I just want to also address the concern with security. There will be on-site staff throughout the night, so it's not like there's no one there. The other thing I want to address as well is that, of course, you can't help everyone, and we do understand that. Again, this, as many have already mentioned, this is just a stepping stone towards some potential solutions. But this is where it's going to be very important to collaborate with other stakeholders and others that are involved in this type of service, such as the Oroville Homeless Coalition, other nonprofits. I mean, we're connected with the Hope Center, Oroville Rescue Mission as well. So being able to come together and collaborate our efforts is going to be very important, because then if we're not able to have them to come into the facilities at that time, we can refer them to other places. But again, unfortunately, there's not many options at this time, but we just want to be able to get started again at, moving towards a solution. And again, making that collaborative effort with others who we work together again with throughout the COC. There are many other organizations as well. So being able to bring that information forward and again, coming together with that.
So what time would you open the doors up exactly to take this first 25?
4:30 in the
At
afternoon.
4:30?
Yes.
So let's say there's more than 25 people, though, that want to get there, start showing up at 4 or 3:30 to be the first in the door. You see where I'm going with that? Where will they be? I mean, I imagine you're gonna have an amazing facility. It'll be a high demand item. Obviously, we don't have enough. So how are you gonna mitigate the extra people that may want to be busy? I doubt you're gonna have 25 only show up every single day at 4:30, right? So I'd like to see that in the conditions, how you'll mitigate that. Same thing goes with you're gonna have a pretty good size shower facility. Is that gonna be parked on your property or?
Yeah, well, it'll be parked on our property. In the back, we have ample space to park not only the trailer, but the truck as well, which, we have that available. And that we should have our delivery next Saturday from New York. So the trailer itself. So we're gonna offer the commission to come when we get it, kind of give you your idea and opportunity to go through and kind of see what we're doing. And that's gonna be temporary until we get the construction. Once we get the nod one way or another, we'll have the rehab of the center itself to bring in those extra showers. So we won't have to rely on going out the back to get in the trailer to shower and wash your clothes. We'll have all that on site in the facility itself.
Also in the conditions, like a lot of the homeless may have carts or bicycles. I'd like to see that designated area for that, so it doesn't get put off the property, on site for personal items. I know you're gonna have lockers, but, these are items that probably, I would like as a commissioner to see addressed in the conditions of the use permit that are not in there now. Does that?
Sure will, yes.
Same with the security, the loitering, after hours. I don't know that that's in there addressed yet. I don't know what you guys can do to mitigate that, but, really, I think that's what we need to, I'm looking for to see more of.
Just for some clarification, when you say loitering, are you referring to those that we are serving within our organization, or are you referring to within the vicinity? And
Well,
would
I
that
would-
be our responsibility to handle those outside of the facility within, the scope of how, within the distance of?
Well, I think it would be people there that are gonna be there because of your facility. So you say you're gonna serve 25 people, but what if you have 50 people? How are you gonna address that? How are you gonna address the loitering,
We will. We're gonna be very, very strict, and I know we have a big heart, but also we have some little wisdom as well in order to succeed and looking at the longevity of what we're trying to accomplish. We will be out there in force, keeping people moving and certainly down the whole strip, they're gonna be responsible. We're gonna take on that responsibility of the cleanup, other areas in the back as well, the alleyways that's in pretty bad shape now. Those that's gonna be using our facilities, that's gonna be part of the responsibility, is to making sure that our facility is top notch, clean, top of the line, no junk or garbage anywhere. You see it, if it's down, pick it up, So we're gonna be very strict because, all that we have is on how we produce.
Okay.
I apologize if I missed it. Did you say, are you going to have security cameras?
Yeah, we're gonna add, actually, we have the full security now, our alarm system and everything. We're gonna add cameras as well, yes.
And maybe
In
we,
front and back.
maybe we can get that added into the conditions as well. So maybe when this gets brought before the commission, we can have some of those concerns addressed for the next meeting.
Sure will.
Any other questions or comments?
I got one more. It's kind of on what Randy, I'm looking at the staff report. Each participant will receive a 30-day at-a-time referral from agency partners, including the Hope, Butte County Public Health. And then if there's any cots left over, then it's for the homeless just to walk in.
Yeah,
So it kind of sounds like those 30 or those 25 might be done from referral. There might not have any room left.
It could happen, but most of the people that we're dealing with in that community, they're gonna be from that impacted community of Southside. And if they're dealing with the county and those referrals, yes, we definitely want to coagulate our efforts with the county, with the Hope Center and the Mission, Jordan Crossings, and others. So it's gonna be just working together. And yeah, if it fill up, with those referrals and just discussing through the continuum of care and others, they're not getting a lot of participation as far as referrals going out. And we learned that in the last 3 months. So, so we're not too optimistic that it's gonna all come from the county, you know, to fill all our bunks each night.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Answering our questions.
Any other questions or comments? And what's the pleasure of the commission?
I would like to go with the staff recommendation and move this to the next planning commission meeting.
Is that a motion?
That's a motion.
So there's motion, is there a second?
I'll second it.
There's a motion and a second. Any questions to the motion?
I'd like to see those conditions.
Yeah, here, you'll come back.
Can we clarify that you're continuing it so that we don't have to republicize?
I'd like to continue it.
Okay. Said move it.
Reword your motion there.
No, we're good. As long as I understand that he's continuing it.
I'd like to continue it. Thank you.
Okay, there's a motion and a second. Any questions to the motion? Seeing none, please open the voting. Does anyone wish to change their vote? Seeing none, voting is closed.
Motion carries.
Thank you, everyone, for your comments.
Thank you, sir.
I think I've lost track of where I'm at.
Do I want to take a moment while they all
Okay.
Take a little break while these people clear out.
Yeah, we'll take a 5-minute break.
I don't know if I can turn them off.
Yeah, and those notice, the 300 notice we got, they come far away from us.
Okay.
Thank you so much. She came in, there's one for me. I said, no, there's one from far away from us, not from us.
Raymond knows how to hold.
From behind the store, she didn't go there.
He knows how to chair a meeting. We've had some contentious meetings over the years, and I've seen this guy throw people out of the room before, so he's not afraid to do it.
They're not gonna get.
I like you right where you're at. I know you haven't. Yeah, I know. Nope, you're a damn good chair. Damn good chair. I mean, you're damn good at controlling the meeting. I'll tell you that. Better than any other mayor we've ever had as a chair. I'll tell you that.
It's amazed me
I met you right behind you.
about a minute in, or
Yeah, about a minute, I'd say. I know. He's going the wrong way. He should have went the back way.
Once a month, but the next time we meet.
It's always good to be here. Yeah.
Well, this is the first, well, you know, yeah, right. Yeah, you read the off-pearl. It's horrible. Well, you know what, I guess, it'll be hard to convince you now, but I guarantee you that we're gonna meet personally. And if it don't work,
I try not to.
you got my word on this.
I try not to.
Make the community worse.
Subject of homelessness.
You know what? You might not believe this, but when you're up here, we go out and do 45 cents. You know how most of Was that, that's in the trailer though?
Yes. See, that's the thing too, I recommend, I mean, just some, and it's not, we don't listen to your concerns, but we need to meet you to share our
And that's the difference, and we know it, and that's what's gonna separate us from, it's heartbreaking, I know it, so. Yeah, everybody's just zombies, in the zombie state. Yeah, there's some dual diagnosis. Okay, well, and I just want to if you don't mind, I just like to keep, driving by, blow at you, let's talk about that. Yeah, and that's the neighbor who offered their roof. Yeah, ours is brand new, so, yeah, we got a brand new roof. Yeah, that blew off there, it's been doing that, it blows right over, that's the third time it happened. Yeah, ours is spanking brand new.
Is everybody ready? Okay. Jackie, are you ready? Okay. At this time, we'll reconvene from our recess. Okay, moving on. If everybody can take your seats, please. Thank you. I'm going to the commissioner's staff has brought to my attention that we have a couple items. I hadn't gone over the order of the agenda with staff, so I apologize for the rearranging, but we have a couple items that have individuals here who are waiting. So I want to do this by consensus, so if no one has any objection, I'm just going to move. We've already moved forward to number 1, so now we're going to move number 3 and number 5 to 2 and 3 accordingly. Does anyone have an objection to that?
No.
Okay, see no objection, that's what we will so do. So our next item, our second item under public hearings, will be what is listed as item number 3, tentative subdivision map, 2134 2nd Street. Gary?
Once again, Chair Robinson and Commissioner, thank you very much for moving these forward, as we have applicants here, and they would like to speak on the behalf. First, we have this, which is our tentative subdivision map for the 1 acre vacant lot to be subdivided into 15 lots total. We had brought this up at the last meeting, but there was not time and information to be provided for the commission to be able to make an appropriate review of it, and was requested to be moved forward to this month. So therefore, we have 1.89 acre property that is currently has single-family dwelling unit, a barn, and 2 small sheds. What they're planning to do is make a small subdivision in it of 15 total lots. And each lot will be developed with a 2-story affordable housing unit with a 1 or 2 car garage. What this will also do is help City of Oroville meet its affordable housing, because we are lacking in the number of affordable housing that we have here in the City of Oroville. So staff finds that this is a good location for that and supports its location as well. Finds that its proximity to county services, transportation, and that makes it for a perfect location for affordable housing as has been proposed. With that being said, that's how all staff has. I'll open it up to questions from there.
All right, before we get into discussion between commission and staff, I have one card for speaker. Is that Arnie or Amy McAllister? Amy.
She gets ornery though.
I get Arnie a lot. Arnie or Annie. Very rarely do I get Amy. Good evening. I'm Amy McAllister. I'm one of the partners of the project. I just wanted to thank you for hearing our project this evening and offer our services. We are here to answer any questions you may have. And then I also understand that there might be some confusion. How can you possibly get so many lots on this small of a parcel? So I'd like to offer, I printed out some maps. Anyway, we had some bigger layouts, and we have some different conceptual plans of what the houses may look like and how we can actually fit, a single-family residence on such a small lot. So we have been able to meet all of the city requirements for rear, front, side, setbacks, and whatnot. So I have a few of these maps. I have a couple reductions. If I may approach you and hand them out.
Please.
Thank you. I was wondering if you're going to leave me out.
I wouldn't leave you out, Gary. So if you have any questions, again, I'm happy to answer anything that you may have. It does not print out.
I know, I didn't see
They're roughly between, they'd be 9 to maybe 1,500 square feet.
Okay. My first one was 9.
Before we get into more questions, I wanted to just check to see if there was anyone else that wanted to comment.
Absolutely.
Was there anyone else here who wished to speak on this item under the public hearing? Seeing none, I will close the public hearing and limit discussion between commissioners and staff. So, we're going to call you back up now.
Okay, Amy, on the north side of that residential area, you have a small sidewalk on that, but none on the south side, is that correct?
That's correct. We're trying to keep it affordable.
One sidewalk.
And we figured since there's only the 15 lots, that there's not going to be a whole lot of traffic up and down that road. So we figure one side would be sufficient. And then you have the handicap ramp to cross them over to the other side.
I don't know. I'd really like to see sidewalk on both sides. It looks like there's enough room. There's about 3 feet between the back of the sidewalk on the north side and the right-of-way, so it looks, I don't know if the street has to be there or not, but it looks like the right-of-way could be there. I live in a subdivision with rolled curb and gutter and no sidewalks, and people think that means they could park in their front yards, and it just looks,
Yeah, I understand. We're also trying to allow for enough room for landscaping. So that would cut down on the amount of landscaping.
I had a question. Is this a PUD overlay? These are non-conforming sized lots for the city, so wouldn't this require a PUD overlay being non-conforming? The square foot lodge doesn't meet the minimum city standards.
Yeah.
They do for R2 zoning. This isn't R1, this is R2 zoning. So the lot widths and dimensions, the lengths are a little bit different than R1.
I'd like to take a look at that. Yeah,
this will be reviewed, and the sidewalk end will also be reviewed by Public Works.
That
prior
would
to-
require a PUD overlay too, like a use permit then, if it's gonna be non-conforming, wouldn't it? If without sidewalks, I mean,
Well, there will be sidewalks required by the city.
okay. Was stormwater drainage addressed on this map too?
It's not on the map, but it will be provided with underground leach trenches, and it will connect to existing city services in 2nd Street.
Okay, and then is there see, I don't see any setbacks or locations for that. Is that?
It'll be within right of way.
It'll be within the right of way. There is a tie-in going across the street. The city does have a program on the, according to Mike Massaro, the city engineer, of going in on the other side of the street and having to do some work. So that would coincide with this project as well.
Okay, because I remember there was a tentative map on this a long time ago, and in the lower area, there was an area designated for stormwater drainage, and I just wondered if that was mitigated in this plan.
I'm aware of that last layout, and they had rezoned that project to R1. This is R2. We went ahead and let that map expire so we could come back with a new application to keep the zoning as is R2.
Well, I love the plan. I love the location. I think all that's fantastic. I'm just curious about the non-conforming lot sizes in the R2 zoning. I just don't recall
Our
that.
civil engineer drew it up to current code and standards.
Okay.
And it has been reviewed by our city engineer.
Okay.
So the tentative parcel map has been reviewed and approved for recommendation for approval by staff by our city engineer,
says somewhere.
consulting engineer.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Gary, you said that Public Works will require some things that aren't listed on the.
There
conditions.
will be, based off our municipal code, sidewalk, curb and gutter.
Sidewalk on both sides?
Yes.
Will there anything else that we may have conditioned that we don't need to condition because Public Works or?
Yeah, that will be during the build time. Right now, it's just approving the subdivision map, but it's gonna have to meet the minimum requirements of the municipal code, which will be reviewed at the time of design and application. Right now, it's just approving a subdivision map of these lots.
So anything we don't catch is gonna be caught in a later.
Absolutely. Everything that isn't, well, not that we don't catch, it's just that this is just a splitting of the lots, and then the house sizes, the setbacks and all that will be reviewed by planning, by Public Works, and by building and fire during the course of design and review.
I think we should add the sidewalks as conditions now, though, since it's been caught
Yeah.
part of the subdivision map.
Yeah. And I've written that down.
Any other questions or comments? See none, I'll open for a motion.
I move. Where we're at on this here? Hold on. Number
Find the place.
5. Where are we at? 4, 3.
I recommend the findings.
I move that we approve the tentative map. Recommendation number 19-02, or resolution number, there it is, P2019-08, with the additional conditions for the curb, gutter, and sidewalks.
Just motion. Is there a second? There's a motion and a second. Any questions to the motion? Seeing none, please open the voting. Does anyone wish to change their vote? Seeing none, voting is closed.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Moving on to item number 3, which is listed on the agenda as item number 5.
Amy, do you want this back?
Okay, thank you, Chair Robinson and
Conditional
Commissioner.
use permit, manufactured home.
This
Gary.
conditional use permit application has been submitted for manufactured home display and sales office. Once again, this has previously been Clayton Homes in the past. Clayton Homes had moved and relocated into, I believe, the Roseville area, and now, and then this had been changed in use. So now Clayton Homes is coming back into the same location in the same site to put up some display homes and fix up the office. If you've gone by the area, you will notice some cleanup of the property and some work being done and performed, because I had indicated that there is no restrictions of doing that during the course, because they could have an office there in the sales office. And this is for the conditional uses, because the cessation does not come in effect with this, because it had changed a use, and they're coming back with the same use as Clayton Homes, but the zoning, as we are aware, in 2014 has changed our zoning ordinance, and that's what triggers them. It's allowed by use, but by conditional use permit. What the conditions the staff has put forward is, they'll have to be set up with skirting and with tie downs and stuff for the homes. So with that being said, we do have the applicant here to speak, and any questions that staff has. You can see photos here of what they do have, and they gonna replace the old sign that's all faded with the new sign and that.
Thank you, Gary.
And they're gonna install a new sign in the planner, which will meet our requirements of our sign.
Now going to open the public hearing. I have a Dustin Youngdahl, which I believe is the applicant.
Yes. Thank you for your time tonight. I grew up in Paradise, so it's good to be back in Butte County. And Clayton Homes, very professional company. We're part of Berkshire Hathaway, owned by Warren Buffett. We own the factory that builds our homes, and we are affordable housing. And I'm already in the office over there, but can't quite pull the trigger because I have homes built. I need to put them on the property, get them displayed so I can have people come buy affordable homes. We build big fancy Taj Mahal type homes too, but our most popular are always the ones that are the most number of bedrooms at the least price possible. And I get homes out of multiple factories that our company owns. We also own our own bank, and the outside lenders I work with always want perfect credit. Our bank, I've seen them approve people under 600 credit scores with bankruptcies 6 months out. So there's a lot of good that we do to a community, and we're good neighbors. We keep things clean, we're respectful. I wanted things, and, I agreed to do the tie downs on the homes, and, I think we worked well, but I would love to be in business up here, and I can't wait to be part of the community. Any questions?
Yeah,
We might have questions.
He
after
has
the
been
public
quite
hearing.
cooperative with staff in providing what we were requesting with the conditions. So staff recommends approval of the project.
All right, before I close the public hearing, was there anyone here who wished to just speak on this item? I'm only looking at you, Sherry. Okay, I will, at this time, close the public hearing, limit discussion between commissioners and staff. Any questions or comments?
Yeah, I do.
Commissioner Britton.
You don't have to go far. On your map proposal here, you have, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 homes that you're gonna, put up for sale, right? Or,
Right now, I have 5 built that I want to bring in. It could be up to 8. You know, I really can't fit more than that there. With maneuverability of getting them in and out, it's, you know, we're limited to space. We'll eventually sell those. I mean, those will come in and we'll display them and keep them for a year or 2, and then they'll leave to, you know, final property.
Any other questions or comments?
Should be a good sales tax generator.
Yeah.
one other question, do these come with, these modular homes? I guess they're modular.
They're manufactured homes.
Manufactured homes.
Yeah.
Yeah, do they have the, urban interface for fire?
I bring 100% of my homes in with the WUI, Wild Urban Interface. Even, you know, if some places don't require it, we just, you know, my dad has the office in Sacramento. He brings all his homes in the same way. It's optional at the factory, but that's how we bring them in.
That's how you, so every one of them is WUI
Yeah,
certified?
yeah.
Okay.
I mean, and I can't deliver it to an area that requires it, you know, if I didn't have it.
Right, okay.
I'd like to make a comment. Yeah, I'm in favor of this. That lot toward the back has a huge problems with transients and living in those bushes back there and putting a business back there and cleaning it up. I think that's wonderful.
Yeah,
They
we've
definitely
already
need that right there.
Started that.
That's good.
You know, and I've talked to homeless people on that lot every single day, and clean up after them every single day, even since I've been there, the street, the front, the rear. You know, and I'm kind. One guy, I gave him water and some chips, and he wrote me a letter saying, thanks for not treating me like trash.
Aww.
So, I mean, you know.
Is that going to be fenced in the back as
We
well
are
then?
fencing the
Yeah.
entire property line.
Good. Good job.
Which should cut down the access through
Right.
there.
Yes.
Altogether, you know, because it kind of backs up to a little gully where it's filled with water right now.
There's like a road back in there.
There won't be any more.
Any other questions or comments?
Nope, I'm good.
No other questions or comments, so I'll open for a motion.
I'd like to make a motion to use permit number UP 1903 to, what, let him,
I don't
You-
see
you-
that.
you're-
Just
did I have the right one?
5, right? what
Item
we're looking at?
5. Yeah, item 3 was,
So in the
and that was,
we didn't have
Yeah.
they didn't put a resolution number on there, because originally, staff was asking us to continue it, but I think you didn't, you said that you were withdrawing the request for a continuation. correct?
Absolutely, and we just, like to approve it tonight.
Did you have a resolution number on that?
Is this use permit number at the top?
PL
There you go, okay,
1903
right up there.
-006.
1903.
dash
Okay,
006.
there's a motion,
I'll second. I'll
Motion
second.
and a second, any questions to the motion? Open voting.
Sorry, who was the seconder?
I was.
Okay.
I think.
Whoops. Does anyone wish to change their vote? Seeing none, voting is closed.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Yes, that's, staff feels that's gonna be a great improvement in the area over there, definitely an asset. And, with the upcoming, development that's coming across the way too, is going to kinda fill and clean it up. Absolutely. And, you know, if the others were here, they could, support the fact that they'll cut a hole in the fence and sleep under the house. So, you know, there will be some affordable housing.
Okay, moving on to item number 4, which is listed as item number 1 on the agenda. Zoning change 16.12.020. H1 tentative maps. Gary?
Okay, thanks, thank you again, Chair Robinson and Commission. This is the zoning change for tentative parcel maps, tentative maps that was recommended by the commission to bring back for review and approval when we were going through the changing of the commission to the zoning administrator. This is for extensions only of the tentative parcel maps. I'd like to just kind of add them both in together because it's going to be the same ditto of this as well as item two. Is just only, these are only extensions of maps, tentative parcel maps, tentative maps that have had no changes or anything to the conditions.
Before we get into discussion on this, and I'm gonna do each item separately because they're listed that way in the agenda.
Okay.
I'm gonna go ahead and open the public hearing at this time. Anyone here who wishes to speak on this item? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. Looking on the wording, unless I missed something, looking on the wording on the agenda packet, because we had talked about coming back with the wording what you're saying, which is only extensions and if there are no changes, but I didn't see that wording. It looked like the same wording that had come originally. And then also I remember a discussion about the request of instead of doing it 2 years at a time, combining it together and having it, the option to go with the zoning administrator and then for a 6-year period. But when we had talked about coming back with the idea of only doing it if there were no changes, I don't remember any discussion of it being for the 6 years all at once. And so I want you to address my query about they're not seeing the word change. And then also I don't, honestly, I'm not inclined to vote for this even with the change. And so I'm probably gonna vote no matter what. But I know their commissioners had a little bit less reservations, but I would like to know, did I miss something on the wording on the agenda packet when it didn't look like the wording had changed to say, if there was, that's what I thought too, yeah.
We're just doing it to match the administrative code. Staff would be happy to move it forward to the next meeting with your new planner.
I would be happy not to have to deal with this again.
But can we see a wording change on that? Not the.
Well.
Yeah, the 2-year reference, right?
Yeah,
And remove to add it to the 6 years.
No, for extensions to be 2 years at a time instead of.
2 years at a time,
Not all
just
6 years, yeah.
Not to exceed 6 years. Is that possible, Gary?
Yeah.
2 years at a time?
Yeah, but the 2 years at a time with a maximum of 6 years.
That's for the first one, but the second one would be different, right? For 3 months, or 3 years.
That's because
I'm
of
inclined
municipal.
just to say no to this altogether, and
Yes, me too.
that's my feeling.
I'll make a motion, if it's the chair's wish, to reject. What we would recommend.
Unless there was if anyone else wanted to have more discussion on this.
That's what I was gonna ask.
I mean, we had when we had the discussion before, and I voiced it. I'm loath to, because over my years of being on here and having having lots of different staff come through and stuff like that, there have been a number of times where it's come up to streamline. It's the word you use. Streamline it, make it easier, make it business friendly, and basically to take it away from move it from a public hearing to administrative.
So your objection is the same as what we had before.
Right, and I know that there was some.
We miss out on a chance to improve a project.
Right.
And the developers were not against this.
And I'd like to clarify, my objection is, I was a little more pro this with our current planning director. I have faith. He's caught other conditions and made recommendations for changes, but I don't know that our future zoning administrator would have that same, I'm not ready to put.
And staff feels comfortable, with your guys' decision. There is being some changes going on within the city. So with that being said, this probably won't be tabled to the next meeting because we'll be bringing in planners. They will be advertising for a planner to come in after the budget. There's going to be a consulting planner coming in to assist. So they're working on that at this point in time. So I think it probably is better at this time that we do table these kind of municipal code changes and whatever until we get appropriate planning staff that will be there.
And see, and what Randy's talking about, he was a little bit more comfortable with Gary being there, but now not knowing who's coming. And see, I come from the position where I automatically look like I don't do it based on who's in it. I do it based on the idea that I have no idea who's going to be there.
Absolutely.
Because you don't have any idea who's going to be there. I've been here long enough. I know they don't all stay. None of them do.
Right, and that's, I agree with that. And I think with proper staffing levels, perhaps the city is going to hire a full-time planning director. Getting these proposals to the commission may not be such a burden either. You know what I'm saying? I think the city needs to step up a little bit and, need help,
They
currently.
need to get the proper manning for the jobs.
Man, there's only so many hours in a day. So I was more pro this being a certain, under our very limited staffing,
The camel's back was broken.
Yeah. So being that there's going to be some changes, I'm more open to just keeping it, the zoning code the way it is. So that's where I would like to just
Staff agrees.
say no.
Well,
We just table it?
Well, technically, I need to open the public hearing on any other item, even though we don't have anybody out there. So let's go ahead and vote on this one, and then we'll just move through the motions on the other one, so I can say I officially did the public hearing. Nobody gets in trouble. So on this item, if there's no further discussion or questions. Yeah, is there a motion?
I move that we vote no on changing zoning change number 19-04
19-05,
05. Is that the one we're on?
number one.
It was
Yeah,
04 and
number one.
03.
Yeah, that one right there, yeah.
Oh, yeah, 19-05. Thank you.
Okay, there's a motion. Is there a second? There's a motion and a second. Any questions to the motion? Please open the voting.
So are
Right,
we
yes
voting
is-
yes
yes
to
is
say
no.
no?
Correct.
Okay.
I just unvoted myself. Does anyone wish to change their votes? Vote. Seeing none, voting is closed.
Motion carries.
It's been a long day. Thank you. Okay, so moving on to item number 5, which is listed as item number 2 in the agenda.
We just voted.
Well, that
on it.
was old. The one we just did was the old item 1.
Yeah.
This is what we just voted on.
Number,
See here.
Nope.
don't worry, I'll be working with Jackie to make sure this kind of thing is kept to a minimum in the future. So, moving on to item number 5, which is listed as item number 2. Zoning code change. Gary's the same introduction and discussion that we had the last one. So I will open the public hearing. Is there anyone here who wishes to speak on this item? Seeing none, public hearing is closed. So assuming that there's no other discussion on this one, I will open for a motion.
I'll move that we reject resolution P 2019-04.
There's a motion. Is there a second? There's a motion and a second. Any questions to the motion? Please open the voting. Yes is no. Does anyone wish to change their votes? Vote. Seeing none, voting is closed.
Motion carries.
It's been a long day. Okay, moving on to item number 6, which is listed as item number 6 on the agenda.
We did that one.
Zoning ordinance change, development standards for residential districts table. Gary.
Staff carries the same comment and suggestion on this one as was 1 and 2.
continuation?
Yep, please.
Does anyone have any comments or questions they want to make before we make a motion on this?
I don't even know what it is.
Well, we don't have any information
Well,
on
we
it.
don't have, well, we didn't have anything in the packet,
Okay,
which is
that
they
works.
want to continue
Okay.
it. So is there a motion?
I'll move that we continue this to a date selected by the planning commission.
Just to our next meeting? Is that what?
Is that too soon?
I wouldn't predict any of these for the next meeting, because we're gonna be working with a consulting firm as the planner. And, I don't think that the city's gonna wanna have pay a planning consultant to go through this process. But I do know that after the budget season, they are gonna be advertising for a planner. So once the new planner comes in and then they become comfortable and whatever,
We should just table this indefinitely?
Yeah.
table it until
Or
time
just reject
comes.
it for now.
Yeah, just reject it and
Okay. So there's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Any question as to the motion? Seeing none, please open the voting. Does anyone wish to change their vote? Seeing none, voting is closed.
Motion carries.
Okay, moving on to regular business, none. Moving on to discussion items. Does anyone have any items to discuss? Number 7, what? There's no number 7.
I don't have a 7.
Oh, you're looking at the old,
You're looking at the minutes.
minutes.
that's okay.
How did another item sneak in here?
I had a-
Okay, so anyone have any discussion items? Commissioner Flicker?
I don't know if it's
Commissioner-
a discussion or not. We got the email that we have the opportunity for a training in May.
Yeah.
And so I just went ahead and did it. I don't know if I was supposed to.
Yep.
For $25, I'm doing it.
There you go.
So, okay,
Very good.
okay.
Where
Yeah.
is this one at?
It's in Sacramento. It's like the May 28th or something like that, or 20, it's later in the month.
Is that on a Saturday?
Yes.
And I
It's
believe
like
you
9 to
all
3.
have also something in front of you too that came in for all of you.
Can't do that one.
CEQA.
I'm at CAR.
Yeah.
I've been to like 3 or 4 CEQA seminars and they are a blast. I'll just tell you that right now.
If we were to go on something like this, do we pay for this, or does the city pay for this? Because I saw the price tag on this.
I believe that there is a reimbursement.
Okay.
I did go over this with the chief, is, whether you drove city vehicle and fueled up at the city yard. But what he had indicated is there's mileage, I believe mileage and fuel that is reimbursed, yes.
Do they do more than one a year?
There's different things that,
Yeah.
different types of
Oh,
training that go
I
on
see it
at
on the
different times.
backside. Okay.
There's APA conferences. We've gone to that
The
before.
big one is the
American
the
Planners
California,
Association.
yeah, well, that one.
Which
California,
one?
the California League of Cities Planning Conference.
Yeah.
It's been a while since I've gone to one of those, but I've gotten to, I think, 4 of them over the last 20 years.
Yeah, I can't go.
Any other discussion items? Seeing none, we'll move on to the director's report. Garrett?
You guys, some of you may have heard some rumor going around, staff changes. There has been some staff changes. I have made, some decisions and we have come to some agreements. So I will no longer be working as the planner. I'm going to be the building official fire marshal as what I have applied for, what I have been paid for, and what there was. We are going to be bringing in a consulting planner, as I indicated, and then after the budget, they will be advertising to hire a full-time permanent planner. I would like to take the time to thank the Planning Commission for educating me and running me through the program. The only thing that I feared was one ex that had a frying pan every once in a while. You know, wasn't sure how to sleep at that. But with that, thank you very much for everything that's been here. I will be most likely coming in and introducing the consultant and the new planners when they do come in. But
Thank you for your work, Gary.
I have to say,
Stepping up and filling the gap when there was.
oh yeah,
need.
for considering stepping into your role from out of nowhere and then with staffing the way it was, I think you did a great job, for the record.
Way outside your comfort zone a lot of the time.
thank you. I had learned a lot.
Being nice.
But well, it's a road of hard knocks. But I was a contractor prior to, and sometimes you get the thing to jump in, dive in, and get done what needs to be done, and that's what I did. I did learn a lot. When I say I learned a lot, I wrote a mitigated negative declaration for a 5-story hospital, and I run that through myself from scratch, which is something that even your veteran planners cannot say that they have done. So, and that met all CEQA documents. I've learned a lot about lot line adjustments, though I knew those from being a contractor and developing, but you still, on the other side and the face there, I did learn a lot about CEQA. I did get quite educated in everything, but at my age, I'm not interested in continuing forward. I'm more into easing my lifestyle. So
Man needs to sleep once in a while.
that's right.
Here. Okay.
But then at the same token, I did want to bring up to the attention that I had a meeting yesterday morning with a Mavericks. I don't know if you guys are familiar with the Mavericks. So Mavericks is looking at coming in on the corner of
Like a flying
Oral Dam. It's like a Flying J, but a higher scale. It's kind of a gas station. It's between a gas station truck stop type for a hierarchy.
That old Caltrans barn.
So they have come in. They were ready to start submitting and going through the process now, but I had to let them know that it's a little premature because we've got to go through the CEQA, and that they were trying to reduce the lot sizes there to be under 5 acres to be CEQA exempt, but I had indicated that staff would not be able to waive CEQA requirements and reviews because of what development is going in there and the traffic impacts that we would have, the sewer capacity impacts that we would have, and that we would not, the city would not be able and supportive of waiving any CEQA requirements. But they are coming in, and there's, like I said, we have the Clayton Homes coming in. We're going to have that development coming in there. There's just a lot coming in.
Love to see that corridor developed. Yeah.
Okay, moving on to commission reports. I don't think we had any subcommittee meetings or anything, so no commission reports. We will adjourn to Thursday, May 23rd, 2019 at 7 p.m. Thank you all.
Do we have subcommittees? Oh, okay.
6 opposed with one of them open to conditions, 13 in favor.
Is Carl okay?